But this could be the year we look back on and say, oh, right, that's where it all started. The conversations we had, the action we took, the commitments we made, the new ways of thinking that we finally allowed into our way of doing everything that led to a totally new way of being in the world. That all started in 2021. Hi everyone, and welcome to We Can Remake the World, a podcast about people who are changing the world and how you can help. And welcome to 2021. Here we are. I don't know about you all, but I needed that holiday break so badly. I cannot tell you how good it felt to just unplug and enjoy some simple things like cooking every day or baking all of the cookies that I possibly could and baking some other treats to share with family and friends. Most of us didn't get to celebrate the holidays with as many people as we're used to, but I hope you still found ways to connect with those around you and share some joy and definitely some relaxation, and that you were able to find ways to really rebuild your strength after a pretty tough year. I know it may not feel to many of us like things have changed all that much from last year. A lot of people around the world are still in various stages of lockdown and reopening. There are a lot of questions still as to how our world is going to change and adapt and rebound from everything that happened in 2020 from a lot of different perspectives. And we aren't finished with the impacts of the pandemic on our day-to-day lives by any means, and there still might be a little while before we kind of have settled and found our way back to some sense of normal. But there's every reason to believe the year ahead will bring us amazing new ideas and experiences, things we've never thought of, potential that could surpass every year before it. And that's what we want to focus on today. Before you tell me I'm crazy and tune us out, consider this. 2021 could be the year where we come to our senses. 2021 could be the year where we take what we've learned over the past year and even the past few decades and make a true and dedicated commitment to building a better world based on what we know. 2021 could be the year where we build the foundation of a whole new way of doing things, a whole new system based on equality, on human rights and human dignity, on respect for nature, that's based on long-term thinking rather than short-term thinking and considers sustainability of every kind every step along the way. We may not see this new way of doing things totally take shape this year, but we can start asking questions and having conversations and coming up with solutions that get us closer to that new and better world with this year as our starting point. 2021 could be the year when everything changes. 2021 could be the year when people stop blaming themselves and each other for all the things they wish were different about our world and finally decided to simply do everything they can, we each can, to make the world a better place. 2021 could be the year we realize that we have all the power we need to make change. A year where we can realize that choosing to exercise that power every day is all that it really takes to radically change life on this planet. 2021 could be the year we stop fighting with each other and start working with each other. 2021 could be the turning point. Again, we may not see everything transform on the surface in 1 year, but this could be the year we look back on and say, oh, right, that's where it all started. The conversations we had, the action we took, the commitments we made, the new ways of thinking that we finally allowed into our way of doing everything that led to a totally new way of being in the world. That all started in 2021. We could look back 5 or 10 years from now and see that all of the difficulties and questions and confusion of 2020 led us to asking really important questions and committing ourselves to finding answers to the questions we asked and solutions to the problems that we identified that started us on a new path in 2021. What's the alternative to this idea of 2021 as the year that everything changed? 2021 as the year everything stayed the same? 2021 is the year where we watched things play out without investing any personal energy or community energy into fueling and creating solutions. The year where we kind of just let stuff unfold. Again. 2021 as the year where we continued to believe that we were powerless, or that it was someone else's problem to solve, or that there's nothing we can really do to make a difference, and that there's little hope for the world we wished that we lived in. I don't want to see any of those alternatives to 2021 play out. Do you? I want to be part of a 2021 where the conversation took a new direction, where everything started to change for the better. I want to be part of starting conversations that bring attention to all of the good things going on in the world, all of the creative ideas that people are having to rethink every aspect of our lives for the better. There are so many of them out there. We just have a few on our show, but they're happening all over the place. I want to join those conversations, the ones that focus on our potential and our resilience, so that we believe we're capable of making lasting change. Change which builds a whole new experience of business of every kind, a whole new experience of culture, a whole new way of thinking about society and travel and transportation and art and music and everything else. At the very least, I want to look back at 2021 and be able to say to myself, I did everything I could, everything I possibly could, to make the world a better place this year. I followed through on my commitment to be part of the solution, part of the positive momentum. I followed through on every inspiration I had to do something about the challenges out there in whatever way made sense to me. I made a commitment to not get caught up in fear or worry or self-doubt or holding back or in believing the worst about myself or about us as a global community. I want to say at the end of this year, I did everything I could each day to be the best I could be and to add to building the world that I want to live in. If each of us could get to the end of this year and be able to say those things, I truly believe that this would become the year everything changed. The beginning of a new year is such a powerful time for each of us, individually and collectively, I think. It's a clean slate and a reminder that we always have the opportunity to reshape our lives. We just tend to think about the changes that we want to make around the time of a new year more often. It's a time to make choices about the habits we want to maintain and carry forward or leave behind. Habits of action, how we behave, habits of thought, and how maybe we relate to others. The shock and confusion of 2020 is behind us now. And although our world is still very different than it was a year ago, to be sure, I think now we have the benefit of knowing a little bit more about what to expect from the near future for some time. We know that we won't be able to move and act as freely as we were able to a year ago, but none of this is new and shocking for us anymore. We don't have to allow the current circumstances to make us feel ineffective or alone or powerless. A lot of those things that I think a lot of us experienced back at the beginning of all of this, back in March and April of 2020. We can be ready for the year ahead, expecting that we're still going to have to adapt and make the best of an unfolding situation. We can choose to make the most of it without needing circumstances to change. I heard an idea recently that really inspired and encouraged me. This was on Jay Shetty's podcast called On Purpose, if you haven't heard it. Jay spoke about an idea that life has seasons which mirror the ones in nature: spring, summer, fall, and winter. These seasons of life, so to speak, don't always line up with natural seasons. For example, spring doesn't always follow winter with our kind of life phases. Fall doesn't always follow summer. But we do, if we pay attention, I think, find ourselves going through phases of life in a similar way, which kind of can mirror the seasons. In spring, we're excited and energetic. We're learning and building, planting seeds for the future and growing things. We're discovering new things and getting ready to move outward with our ideas or creative projects. In summer, we're extending ourselves, sharing, getting out into the world, inviting others to be part of what we're making or we're talking about, getting out there in the spotlight and shining. We know what we're up to and we're in action mode. In fall, we're becoming more reflective, slowing down a bit, taking a look at different aspects of our lives, and maybe allowing things which we see as no longer serving us to fall away so that they can make room for something new. It's a phase of transition. And in winter, we're recharging, moving at a slower pace, planning for the future when life resumes a faster pace, and also recharging and connecting with our need for self-care and downtime. As I said, your season of spring or fall might come at different times throughout the year. It doesn't necessarily line up with the seasons, and the length of these seasons might vary. So maybe you have a fall season which lasts for 5 months, or a winter season which lasts for a year, and then you're off to a summer season right away. I think it's the ideas behind these seasons and kind of what they represent in our lives that really matters. What I love so much about this concept is that it takes the pressure off of us to be in go, go, go mode, producing and growing and sharing and moving all the time, which is really just one of the 4 seasons in the way that this kind of metaphor sets it up. That's summer, when you're always out there moving and sharing. And this way of thinking, I think, allows space for the other seasons too, which are essential in the cycle of life, the cycle of nature. Without winter, could we really go through summer with the energy we need to make the most of it? And without fall, could we make room for new ideas and experiences that a spring season would bring? Each one is important and gives us something important. And I found myself realizing that I've had a tendency to push against circumstances, wanting to be in spring or summer all the time and resisting fall or winter, wanting to be kind of in that active mode, that outward mode, instead of making time and space for the quieter, recharging moments, the reflective moments. It's so important to value reflection, rest, and moving more slowly. And it can be easy to, I think, not really want to allow space for that phase of life in a culture that's really action-oriented. I found myself feeling so much freer once I had allowed this idea to sink in and kind of just make peace with where I am, where we all are. I started to wonder if we're kind of in a collective fall and winter right now. We could look at 2020 as a fall season, a time when we were looking around and realizing that there was a lot we'd like to change and to leave behind, to let go of, just like trees let go of their leaves once per year, to make room for the new leaves that come in the spring. There's this necessary stage where we have to let go of what we don't need anymore, with what's just weighing us down, what's not helping us anymore, and let it fall away. This is an idea that Jay talked about when it comes to fall that I really resonated with. In 2020, it was clear that the world wasn't what we'd like it to be. We experienced divisiveness, systemic injustices, loss of innocent life, struggles with our systems to adapt to the pandemic, and a major conversation around our health and healthcare systems around the world. There was a drastic change in our pace of life and clear evidence that we need to be supporting our environment and protecting our environment and wildlife more. It was a lot to take in, and it felt like there was a lot to let go of. But that time of reflection, I think, will play out in a way that will serve us so much as we move forward. Not to say that it was easy. I think a lot of us found ourselves with much more downtime than we're used to, although some of us were busier than ever, just in new ways. Either way, we were all kind of hibernating, spending time in our own private spaces with our thoughts and experiences, and wanting to understand how to make the best of this time of reflection and kind of required rest in some ways. In other words, it kind of moved us into a winter season, a time of being still and recharging and considering more than moving. We've recently moved into a new year, which feels to me at least like a new season. There are obvious shifts and changes taking place, leading us into something new. And I'm not sure where we're headed yet. I don't think the seasons in our lives always go from fall to winter to spring in order like in nature. I've definitely not experienced that in my own life, but That's what I hope we start to see as we move into 2021. I hope we start to feel like there's new life and new ideas springing out of this time of challenge and slowing that we've just experienced. I hope we look back at 2020 as a year that set the stage for powerful and exciting new ideas and new energy that totally shifted our ways of thinking and behaving to take root and grow, and that these new ideas lead us into a better world in way more ways than we even anticipated, in ways that we can't deny. I hope we're headed into a time of spring where we can take everything we've reflected on over this year of fall and winter, of rest and reflection, and work to understand ourselves and apply those lessons and experiences to make the changes that we know we need. That time of spring, of learning and growing and expanding. That's the season I want to be a part of, and I invite you to join me there. That's my intention. Here on this show, we're all about highlighting new ideas, new ways of thinking about old problems, ideas inspired by challenges and difficulties, ideas that lead to solutions that we can all be part of and take advantage of to build a new and better world. Let's make 2021 the year of new ideas, so that 2022 can be the year of watching those new ideas grow and take shape out in the world and bear fruit. 2021 is spring, 2022 is summer. Let's start and grow conversations around these ideas. Let's help them grow by talking about them every chance we get, sharing them with everyone we know. Let's build new alliances and join communities that are focused on being constructive and proactive and solutions focused, instead of focusing only on the problems or feeling disempowered. Let's consciously shift into a new season rather than waiting for it to come to us, a season of growth and exciting change. We witness the miracle of life growing out of a cold earth after winter every year. Without fail, we could easily give up hope and say, oh, nothing's going to grow out of this place. There's nothing growing at all. It's all cold and dead or dormant. But every year, life returns. Let's expect to see that same miracle play out in our lives and in our world. This long and difficult fall and winter we've experienced will not last forever. New life will come. New ideas will come. And although we may not quite be there yet, we can start to plant seeds for what comes next now. And we can care for what we place in the ground, so to speak, and help it to grow. We may not be able to control how quickly things change or how quickly we return to some version of normal, just like we can't tell a seed that we plant in early spring to grow faster. But we can take care of it and expect good things and trust that in its time that seed will grow, and we can be part of making sure that that happens. I know things look tough at times, especially these days. I know we're all concerned about challenges in our personal lives and in our communities and in our global community, but I also know that we have the power to shape our world, both in our own individual lives and together. We've heard this over and over again from our guests. We're all in this together, and we can all make a difference every single day by how we behave, by how we buy, by how we treat ourselves and each other. Let's get ourselves in the game so that we don't just sit on the sidelines expecting the worst or watching things play out however they will. Let's get involved and see these challenges that we've experienced as a launching pad to a better world ahead, a better world than we've even dreamed of yet. And let's have patience as that world takes shape. That same patience and trust that it takes to plant a seed and then wait for it to grow on its own time. Let's have that same patience and trust in ourselves and in each other. The change that we want to see begins with us. It begins with a commitment that we make to being part of any solution that we feel we can offer something to. It begins with each of us using our talents and our creativity, our conversations and our purchases, our political action and social and community action to build the world we want to see with every tool available to us. It begins with us believing that we can make a difference individually and collectively, and then committing to making the difference that feels like our contribution, what feels right to us, every day to the best of our ability. I think about history a lot, especially the 20th century, because of how much happened and changed in the world so recently, I think. If you look back at history, you see these moments where circumstances seem to converge in this way that brought about a new way of thinking, a new idea about the world. People started to think about the world differently. You look at a time like the Renaissance, which of course is a bit further back, when the world seemed ready to reimagine itself in all these new ways. Art and science totally changed. People's relationship to religion and spirituality totally changed. You look at more recent times, like the peace movements and civil rights movements of the 1960s, the gay rights movement of the 1970s, and the women's equality movement of the 1920s. These were moments which totally transformed the world and totally transformed our cultures. And yes, they didn't all bring about the full change that we're still striving for in some of these areas. We're still fighting for racial equality and gender equality in some ways. But these moments catapulted us forward for the better in every case. This was sort of the linchpin moment. Those first women who stood up and demanded to have their voices heard, politically and socially and professionally. Those first leaders in the Black community who demanded to be treated with equality and respect and dignity. And those first groups in the queer community who wouldn't be silent and just blend in anymore. These ideas, these movements came alive during certain points in our history and changed the world forever. So why am I talking about history? Well, I think in each of these examples, these movements, which are historical, which all of us are aware of, grew out of difficulty. They grew out of challenges, out of oppression. And something beautiful took shape to resist that oppression and make life better for these groups of people from then on. A new understanding grew out of these movements, out of these small communities which started talking about these ideas, and these understandings took hold in the world at large as well. These ideas caught on in the greater culture. And I wonder, what if we're in the middle of the challenges that could launch us into a whole new version of the world, where we rethink and transform all aspects of our culture based on new understandings that we're just discovering now, that we're developing now? What if this year that we've just had of challenge on so many levels was the spark that lights a fire within millions of people around the globe to stand up for the earth, stand up for human rights without compromise, and stand up for peace in a more active and cooperative and constructive way than we've ever done before? Wouldn't we rather be part of something like that rather than just watching the world pass us by in worry and helplessness? I really think that there's a potential right now, right in front of us, to start conversations and build ideas and create things that will lead us down incredible new paths that we haven't even imagined yet. Even if the questions we're asking are big and hard and complex, and the problems that we're solving feel scary, this could be our moment, our historical moment. 2021, the year that everything changed. Let's not allow it to pass us by. We are so excited to be here with you. We're so grateful for your time in listening to our show. We have really exciting things planned for 2021, and we will be here to keep inspiring you with stories of people who are changing the world right now in hundreds of different ways, so that you can continue to be inspired, to get inspired, and to believe that a better way to be is not only possible, it's already happening, and you can be part of it. We'd love to hear from you about what you're experiencing so far in 2021. Reach out to us directly at podcast@wecanremaketheworld.com, or catch up with us on social media on our Facebook community group. You can just search We Can Remake the World and you'll find us, or look us up on Instagram at We Can Remake the World. Wishing each of you nothing but health, success, strength, and as much positivity as you can find in 2021, even amidst any challenges that we each experience each day. As we continue to navigate this difficult time, I think we'll continue to strengthen our relationships to each other and to our communities, and strengthen our sense of centeredness in ourselves so that we can handle anything that comes our way, which will make us only stronger as we realize more and more that we can bounce back, and that we're all in this together, and that we have each other's backs. Keep reaching out and keep connecting and keep striving toward the best that you have to offer every day. Let's make 2021 the year we chose possibility over fear, purpose over despair, and laid the foundation for something new. Until next time.